Hi guys, so me and my colleague Kanchan are going to talk about the carbon footprint and the reduction strategies in Australia. So carbon footprint is defined as a total set of greenhouse gas emission and comprises of six gases as per the Kyoto Protocol. The greenhouse gases regulated under the Kyoto Protocol are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride. Emissions of different greenhouse gases may be compared by converting them to carbon dioxide equivalents. So let us first look at the five sectors contributing to carbon footprint of Australia. We have identified five major sectors contributing to the carbon footprint. First is agriculture, second energy, which includes stationary energy, transport, and fugitive emission of fuel. Third would be industrial processes. Fourth, land use change and forestry. And fifth, waste. Australia's total greenhouse gas emission, including land use change, and forestry, was 580.71 metric tons, with carbon dioxide emission being the highest from the energy sector with 380.5 metric tons. Australia contributes to only 1.5% of the global carbon footprint, which is very less when you compare it to any other developed nation. The combined energy subsectors, including stationary energy, transport, and fugitive emissions, were the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in 2010, comprising of 71.89% of emissions, followed by agricultural sector, which was 13.69%. Of the individual greenhouse gases, emissions of carbon dioxide increased by 44.4% between 1990 and 2010, from 241.5 metric tons to 434.4 metric tons, an overall increase of 192.87 metric tons. Nitrous oxide emissions increased by 26.5%, hydrofluorocarbon emissions increased by 491.2%, perfluorocarbons decreased by 93.8%, methane emissions again fell by 4.7%, and sulfur hexafluoride decreased by 34.4%. The increase in greenhouse gas emissions reflects the development of the country since 1990, especially in the transport and fuel subsector. Greenhouse gas emissions in 2010 was 580.6 metric tons as compared to 593.3 metric tons, which is a 12.7 metric ton decrease in greenhouse gas emissions, which is a decrease of a total of 1.5%. Three major sectors were responsible for this decrease in carbon emissions in 2010: the agriculture, all energy, and land use change, and forestry sectors. All energy was 420.3 in 2009 and 417.4 in 2010, which is a decrease of 2.9 metric tons. Agriculture was 84 metric tons in 2009, which is again lesser by 4.5 metric tons as it was 79.5 in 2010. Land use change, and forestry fell by 7.8 metric tons as the emission was 45.8 in 2009 and 38 metric tons in 2010. My colleague Kanchan will now speak about the techniques used to reduce the carbon footprint.
The agriculture and land use change and forestry was positively impacted by the Kyoto Protocol signed in 2007, as Australia agreed to stabilize its emissions for the 5-year commitment period of 2008 to 2012. We can see a substantial decrease in the emissions from 2009 to 2010 of 4.5 metric tons. The major reasons for the decrease in greenhouse gas emissions were specific emissions management activities across sectors, a decline in land use change, and forestry emissions over the period, stronger growth in the services sector of the Australian economy as opposed to the more energy-intensive manufacturing sector. We will now have a look at the emission management activities that contributed to this decrease in greenhouse gas emission. The Kyoto Protocol saw the introduction of carbon farming, which was adopted throughout Australia in 2009. The phrase carbon farming means using farming methods that reduce greenhouse gas emissions or capture and hold carbon in vegetation and soils. Carbon farming can cover small changes in land management, like introducing no-till cropping, stubble retention, agroforestry, or methane-reducing feed supplements. At the other end of the scale, it can mean developing an integrated whole farm plan to reduce emissions and maximize carbon capture. It includes those activities that earn Australia carbon credit units through the Emissions Reduction Fund. We have listed the following 5 most popular methods farmers used. which are planting native trees and shrubs, native forest, reducing nitrous oxide emissions from irrigated cotton, storing carbon in your soils, managing stock to allow native forest to grow, and beef herd improvement, which means to earn a carbon credit by reducing methane in your cattle herd. Thank you.